week. This week it's football and the Monday morning firing of Mark Trestman by the Baltimore Ravens and by John Harbaugh and the hiring of Marty Mornhinweg. It has allowed me to get my Rolodex out and go into the Wayback Machine. This guy has covered Philadelphia football for about a decade and a half now. He's been my friend for 2 decades. We did a show together many moons ago in Mount Laurel, New Jersey at NFL Films. He is Brian Baldinger with the most famous pinky in all the NFL, as well as at NFL Network and Baldy NFL on Twitter. Baldy, you know these cast of characters. I mean, you were my first resource in getting to John Harbaugh when he was hired here, and Marty Mornhinweg came along with that program in Philadelphia. Shocked by this on Monday morning, quite frankly, in Week 5?
Not really. I mean, the quarterback is frustrated. He's expressed that. It's been a bad month offensively, I think, for the Ravens. We saw a coordinator, the offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, fired in Buffalo, and they've won 3 in a row. And you could say that, the offense is turning around because of it or not because of it. But either way, they've won 3 in a row since they made that move. And I think losing 2 in a row at home like they have, in the way that they've played offensively, the fact they just can't get the ball down the field, it looks like a bad offense to watch, Nestor. And look, maybe this is the answer, maybe it is. I happen to be a big fan of Marty Mornhinweg. I've been around him a long time. I've known him a long time. John is extremely loyal to guys that he has been with. You have seen that over the years, whether it's Steve Spagnuolo or Juan Castillo, whatever. You've seen him extremely loyal to guys that he was with in Philadelphia. And I just think, it's not necessarily a knock on Mark after Week 5, but they feel like, a change can't hurt. A spark needs to be done. I know Steve Smith only played 12 snaps yesterday, and, they lose their leading receiver, but I don't know. You watch all those 3 tight end sets that they ran and what they're trying to do on third downs, and it just doesn't look like they're really attacking the way you have to do in this league.
Well, running the football would be where it would start, and you being the veteran offensive lineman, tell me what this looks like, Baldy. I mean, all summer long we thought it was Stanley, Urschel, Zuda, Yanda, and Wagner. Then Urschel's not there, and Alex Lewis kind of comes on, looks like a pretty good rookie. Now you're going to start a rookie left tackle and a rookie left guard. That's what they wanted to do in the beginning. It worked out all right early on, and then all of the injuries started happening. Stanley, Alex Lewis gets hit in the head. We're going to have an Alex Lewis out with us, by the way, on Thursday night at Greenmount Station for the Bone Marrow Registry. He'll be joined by Zach Orse. We have our show there. There's my plug, Baldy, Thursday night. Greenmount Station, great crab cakes. You'll love them up there.
Yeah, you can't turn that down.
Well, I know. You'll have 6 of them. I've eaten with you before. But then the O-line, you see Ryan Jensen in there. You see Alex Lewis get back in there. You see James Hurst. Then Ryan Jensen's out on the right side. Rick Wagner's hurt. Baldy, I'm not one to pimp the O-line. That's your job. But when these guys go down and get injured, that's the toughest spot on the field, I think, to be having loose ends everywhere, quite frankly.
Well, it is, but, the best player offensively yesterday was Terrence West, and, he seemed to, have a nice day running the football. He has, and they made the change from 4 set, and it was probably the right move, but they're playing 3 backs. I don't know that you need to play 3 backs the way Terrence West is running the football. Maybe that's part of the problem, too, is, this kid looks like he's hungry. He looks like he's enjoying his second opportunity, and, he went to college right down the road from you guys right there. I mean, he looks, their 2 biggest plays they had all day was Terrence West. So, maybe they don't need to play Buck Allen. Maybe they don't need to see, Kenneth Mix. Yeah, I mean, maybe you don't need to see those guys. Maybe you should just ride the hot hand right now.
All right. Well, Brian Baldinger's here. Now, tell us about what were your thoughts on Trestman? I looked at this when this happened very, very quickly. I remember when it happened because, Kubiak took that job, with the Broncos, and within 48 hours, I was at the Senior Bowl. Next thing I know, Mark Trestman's the offensive coordinator. There wasn't a lot of that relationship that you talk about that's so important to John. And as a guy now that has a longer-standing relationship with John, I know how that goes with his loyalty and what kind of person he is on that front. But I thought this was a little bit of a shotgun wedding from the get-go with Trestman.
Yeah, but, look, he's looking at, what can we do? We lose a great coach in Gary Kubiak. Maybe the best offensive coordinator they ever had. Maybe the best Joe ever played was under Gary Kubiak. Now, he got the head job. You got to replace him. And so, look, Mark Trestman didn't have a good last year in Chicago, but his first year in Chicago, they were the number 2 ranked offense in football. And they had receivers and Marshall and Jeffrey and Matt Forte. They had weapons and, the quarterback Cutler played pretty well. I mean, they were a pretty explosive offense from what I recall and statistically. And so I'm sure John looked at all of that. And here's a bright guy, and nobody's ever going to deny, Mark Trestman that. But, it really comes down to, performance. And, that was a disappointing game yesterday, and it was a disappointing week the week before, I thought. And, the start against Cleveland, losing, 20-0 in that game. Now you win it, but, the offense just hasn't really clicked in. Now you can put it on all the injuries and the shuffling of the offense line. All that stuff is valid. It really is. But at the same time, John's never going to say any of that as any kind of an excuse. So he's just not ever going to, make that claim. Alex Lewis is a rookie. Okay, he goes from left guard to left tackle. It's, we got to play. And it's up to the coordinator's job to make sure that he's protected when he needs to be and make sure you're taking your shots down the field, which they don't seem to do very much. So, Marty Mornhinweg, if you just look at his history, and I've known Marty a long time since, he was in San Francisco. But, he'll always take whatever he's got and maximize it. He's never going to use injuries or backups or any of that as an excuse. He'll maximize whatever weapons you give him. Steve Smith's out of the game. Ronnie Stanley's out of the game. Whatever it is. I mean, Marty's going to work around all of that. I mean, I'm not saying he's a magician, but he's pretty good at that.
Well, it's a good time for the Ravens here, and they're going to make this change. They have 2 train trips up past your house in Cherry Hill, up there to the Meadowlands. This week the Giants, next week the Jets. Certainly not the tallest task, and they're going to have taller trees to climb later in the season for sure.
Well, that's true. I mean, they don't have to get on a couple trips to the Meadowlands there, but they don't have a lot of traveling to do at all until they go to Dallas, or right around Thanksgiving, I think. But that being said, I mean, this offense has to get better. I mean, it just does. I mean, Joe's a better quarterback than what he's showing right now. He's got a big arm. I mean, I know it was windy yesterday, and there was some weather, factors, and not throwing the ball down the field, whatever. But I just think it has to open up some. You got to trust Joe. I mean, he's he had a phenomenal postseason a few years ago, one of the great runs in postseason history. And so you just got to trust that Joe knows how to do all of that stuff. He's healthy. His arm is good. You got to allow him to make some of these plays. And I just don't see enough attack in this offense right now, regardless of who's out there on the field.
Brian Baldinger has been our friend for many, many years. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at BaldyNFL. He's also a fun follow out on Facebook as well. Dude, you got this picture of you and Chainsaw from AC/DC, the Highway to Hell from Billy Joel's band. That's a nice shot. That's a lot of people can put a picture up with Billy Joel, but very few people put one up with Chainsaw.
Well, Chainsaw, whenever he sings Highway to Hell, and that night I was with him, he sang it at Madison Square Garden. He brought the house down.
I saw him bring the house down in Frankfurt, Germany about 5 weeks ago, bro.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes Billy gets a little uptight when he's the show. Billy's supposed to be the show, and Chainsaw goes out there and lights it up and gets the crowd like on his feet. And Billy's like, damn, I used to be able to do that. So Chainsaw, he lost about 200 pounds. He's a huge Florida Gator fan. He can be tuned into the SEC every single week. So
I didn't know that.
Great guy, great guy. Handles all the guitars for Billy and the band.
Where you been lately? You do college football every Saturday.
Yeah.
You're out with, there's announcers and legends and cheerleaders and college football stadiums. You're doing it all, right?
Well, I do the Big 12 games. Although I've got a couple national college games. I got Alabama and A&M in a couple weeks on national radio. But I do Big 12 games on Saturday, NFL games Sunday. I'm here at NFL Films all day Monday, and just got done doing a NFL Network show up to the minute. So. It's just that time of the year, Nestor. I don't know what day it is or what time.
You feel omnipresent, though. I mean, you really do. Like, between my Facebook, my Twitter, my friendship with you, and then just the fact I put NFL Network on and boom, there you are. It's kind of like Billix like that. It's sort of like you guys never leave here. You're always kind of around a little bit.
You know how fun it is at NFL Films, Nestor, on a Monday when you're sort of just digesting everything that just happened, and you get to kind of drop in on these games and see what really happened and why and all that kind of stuff, and maybe why Mark Trestman was let go by John, today. I don't know if you go back and watch that offense against a really bad Redskin team. I mean, the weakness of that Redskin team, Nestor, was, they lost both starting safeties, and they're playing guys that they're just kind of holding it together back there, and they never really attacked those safeties. I think you can't go a game like that and not just see who's defending back there, and take a shot down there. They just didn't take enough of them.
Well, and I think running the football worked early, and they just stopped running the football. I hear this all the time, and it's certainly for John to have to answer these questions the last couple of weeks. It's got to be annoying to him, but then he goes back and looks and says, how did we get into throwing the ball 50 times and running it 20? At what point did that enter into our mind in a 6-point ball game?
Well, I think John, to John's credit, he's a great head coach because he has delegated throughout his career, and he manages the game. And he's got great specialty. He's had great coaches around him, and that's part of being a great coach is finding those guys that you can surround yourself with that aren't trying to stab you in the back and get to become a head coach and all that kind of stuff. And he's got a staff like that, and at the end, when he looks back at it, God, how do we only get 10 points against this awful Redskin team? Well, we're in 3 tight end sets. We're doing this. Like, why aren't we opening up? Why aren't we giving the ball to Terrence West more? Et cetera, et cetera. So, I think John goes back and, look, you fire, you release Justin Forsett. He wouldn't get the job done. Terrence West is a better choice. Sometimes you got to do the same thing to coaches. He's fired an offensive line coach before. And hired Juan Castillo, for whatever reasons, he's done this kind of stuff before. And it's not unprecedented, but that's the coach's job. Rex Ryan did it 3 weeks ago, and it was the right move for the Buffalo Bills.
Hey, last time he fired an offense coordinator was Cam Cameron. They won the Super Bowl 7 weeks later.
There you go. It's not, sometimes you don't want to do it, but you're not calling the plays. You're relying on those guys to get it done. And you're monitoring, as a head coach, you're monitoring what those coordinators, position coaches are doing just as much as you're monitoring the players' effort and, assignments and everything else. And so everybody is under review. And when you kind of stink it up at home 2 weeks in a row offensively, that Raiders defense now is not a good defense at all, Nestor. Now, they put up 27 points, but that is not a good defense. And, sometimes you got to go score in the 30s to win games. And they didn't do that 2 weeks in a row.
Brian Baldinger, our guest here, joining us, talking all things Ravens. Let's move it around the league a little bit. I know you're up in Philadelphia, and as they say now, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, right? I heard that one. Are you shocked?
Wagon, yeah.
Look, you've seen this game a long time. You played with some rookie quarterbacks who've you tried to protect from getting killed behind you at various points in your career. To have this many young quarterbacks do well through a month of the NFL season, I didn't think this was possible, Baldy.
I didn't either. To watch Dak Prescott week in, week out, going all the way back to the first preseason game against the Rams and all the way through yesterday, and to watch Carson do what he's done the first, 4 games of his career, it's phenomenal. The fact that they're both in the same division, they're on a collision course at the end of the month down in Dallas. It's really, we've never seen anything like it. Neither quarterback has struggled at all. Both quarterbacks have played at an extremely high level. Carson Wentz yesterday, outside of his final throw, which was the right throw. I'd like to see his receiver stay on his feet and at least get the ball down, if not, come down with the catch. But he was phenomenal yesterday. Brought the team back from a 21-7 deficit to take the lead with 2.5 minutes to go, up 23-21. On the road, he's been unbelievable, and Dak Prescott has been his equal. The two of them have been unlike anything we've ever seen in this league. To go this many weeks and not struggle is just, we haven't seen it.
Well, and then you have Sam Bradford making the move, and he would have been quarterbacking the Eagles had Teddy Bridgewater not ripped up his knee. What's going on in Minnesota? Defense wins, right? And the teams that are playing good defense, the Eagles, the Seahawks, the Vikings, they look very, very formidable and stout as long as they're not turning the ball over, because those defenses might not take a day off.
No, and the Viking defense has been all of that. But, yesterday, it was a game where Sam Bradford played really well, and that's minus Matt Khalil and Adrian Peterson and Stephon Diggs. And he's thrown to Adam Thielen, and Cordell Patterson, who he caught 2 passes the whole season last year, and he's thrown a touchdown pass to him. Sam Bradford is throwing to whatever receiver is open. He is as comfortable as he's ever been. It's his best that he's ever played.
That's shocking, isn't it, that he can go over there, grab a playbook, and 2 weeks later
it is.
Good.
I believe in Sam Bradford. I always have. He's been snake bit, and there's a lot of things that have happened to him that sometimes are out of your control. He's not built like Joe Flacco. But, the injuries, he's been a little snake bit like that. But, to go to Minnesota, get traded there 8 days before the start of the season, and to have that team 5-0 and really not make a mistake yet. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's not easy to do. I've played with quarterbacks that have come off the bus stop and had to play right away, and it's tough. It's tough calling plays and getting the language and the verbiage out of your mouth and getting guys lined up and all that kind of stuff. And Sam seemingly right now is really, in cahoots with Norv Turner and the entire offense.
Atlanta Falcons have turned it around relatively quickly, and the rest of the teams in this division look like they stink, quite frankly.
Well, I wouldn't give up on Carolina just yet. I mean, they play a game tonight against a bad team in Tampa. The Carolina Panthers, I believe, are still going to make the postseason before this thing is all over. But that being said, you got to give Scott Pioli a great deal of credit down there in Atlanta. They stayed with Kyle Shanahan. He had a terrific game plan yesterday. Just getting Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman lined up on linebackers and just taking advantage of them. It was a great game plan, well executed. And I would say that the free agent signing of the entire offseason, the best one has been Alex Mack, now playing center for the Falcons. The best interior line play that they've had since Matt Ryan's been there, 9 years now.
Well, he's a grown-up. I mean, he was one of the good parts of the Cleveland Browns until he got ripped up 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, well, even last year, but Alex Mack makes a difference. I mean, right now Matt Ryan, can step into his throws. He's not getting hit, every time he drops back. It's a solid interior pocket of his offense line, and Alex Mack is as big a reason as there is for it, and not just in the protection game, but in the run game as well. He's blocked really, really well, and he's the leader of that offense right now. He's the man that they needed. And it's the number one offense in football right now. And going into Denver is hard enough to win, as any Raven could tell you. But to go there and play that well and win, that's not easy to do.
Brian Baldinger can be followed, Baldy NFL, out on Twitter. He's also on Facebook and anywhere Big 12 football is played, and, of course, on the NFL Network. Last thing for you, man. There is a rumor I will be in Las Vegas next week with Mick and Keith and the boys. I know Old Chella kind of happened in the middle of football season. You couldn't do it. But if that was a June or July event, is that something that you would have had some interest in, Old Chella?
Yeah. I mean, as soon as they announced a free concert for, Mick and Keith in Havana, Cuba this year, I was on a plane.
I really screwed that up. My wife just wasn't well enough for me to leave at that point, but I regret that. I totally regret not being there with you for that.
Well, you have larger concerns than I do here, Nestor. You did the right thing. But I will say this. They got a new album out. They're playing the blues. That's all they ever really wanted to do was play the blues.
And it's 72. They can do whatever the hell they want, right?
Yeah, they can do whatever they want, and they still put on an unbelievable show. That being said, I mean, I would expect, though, that you have picked up Bruce's book, and I saw where you met him at the book signing. I just wanted to know how far into it you've gotten, because the book is as good as his music.
Okay, so everyone has told me that. I bought the books. I put them in the bag, okay? I had 2 autographed books. One of my buddies, I won the lottery for him, and he couldn't go.
Okay.
So it was not transferable, but they did allow me to buy a second autographed book. So I have in my possession 2 autographed books. I have not even fingered it open yet.
Okay.
Literally, we have booked our flight to Australia for February to go see Bruce in Brisbane.
Save it for the flight.
I'm saving the book for the flight
Save it,
to
because
Australia.
once you open it up, you won't put it down.
Well, and it's going to be a nice warm-up to, I got 24 hours of straight travel from BWI out to LAX and a little layover and some Mexican food, then 16 hours from LAX to Brisbane, and then 2 days later, we're going to see Bruce play on Valentine's Day, in Brisbane. Hopefully he'll play some Tunnel of Love that night. So I'm saving the book for that. I think. Okay. I mean, Baldy, it's football season.
I know.
I mean, the Orioles.
I was on a flight coming back from Detroit yesterday, doing the Eagles-Detroit game, and I could have been looking at stats and all that. I figured I'd do that at 2:30 in the morning. Let me enjoy Bruce right now. So I'm saving it, man. I'm saving Asbury Park and all the other great stops. Before he ever got a guitar.
I'm saving it, and I know how good it's going to be, and I can't wait to read it. But I want all my friends to read it and tell me how great it is, so that I have this. Look, when you fly from here to Australia, you need something to read. I'm not a movie guy, Baldy. You know this, right?
No. Look, if you decide to say, I'm not going to say anything more about the book. If you decide to save it for February, that's a good choice, because I think you'll be able to finish it actually by the time you get to Australia. It's not a difficult read, but I wish my memory was as good as Bruce's is because it's phenomenal, the detail.
Baldy, you
that he
could
gives
write
you.
a hell of a book, dude. Of all the guys I know, like, you got a book in you, dude. Like,
Yeah, I know, but I still got more stories coming here, Nestor. I'm not ready to sit down and write the memoirs yet. I need 10 more years.
I can only hope I'm a part of them. That's all I can say.
You'll be in there, Nestor.
Baldy, we'll see you soon, man. Let me know when you're in Baltimore, brother.
My pleasure, buddy.
You got it.
Man.
Brian Baldinger talking about all things Marty Morningwig, as well as the new changes here. New offense, out with the Tressman, in with the Morningwig. We'll see how it goes. We have space on our trip this week to the Giants game. If a couple seats left, if you want to jump on the bus, nasty at WNST.net finds me. You can also click on the trips tab at WNST.net. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me for just about anything, but I am on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on Facebook Live, as well as on our YouTube WNSTV channel. Our morning newspaper hits your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That's powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life there. And if you're on the text service, at 9:33 on Monday morning, you got the text about the changes in the Ravens offense and offensive coordinator. That is all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Kolatzis will be here on Thursday, driving you home from 3 until 5 and getting you ready for a weekend of playoff baseball and pretty good football, as well as the Ravens travel somewhere to the swamps of Jersey. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports. Thanks, Paul.